I'm really not sure how to pronounce it. Here it is in its original usage from a tweet 6 minutes after midnight. Despite the constant negative press, Covfefe?
Covfefe. Covfefe. Covfefe.
Probably intended to be coverage, but it came out Covfefe.
Covfefe is a Yiddish term for I gotta go to bed now.
I've been saying Covfefe. I've heard Covfefe.
I say Covfefe.
You said Anne-Marie says Covfefe. You say corn cob.
Yeah, I landed on corn cob. That's where I'm sticking. I'm not moving from corn cob.
All right, then I too shall say corn cob. It was the tweet heard round the world Wednesday, or at least in the United States. President Trump using the word Covfefe. Yeah, okay. The White House is now standing by what was initially believed to be a typo in President Trump's overnight Twitter rant. Press Secretary Sean Spicer defended the tweet earlier at an off-camera briefing.
Do you think people should be concerned that the president posted somewhat of an incoherent tweet last night and that it then stayed up for hours?
No.
Why did it stay up so long? Is no one watching this?
No, I think the president and a small group of people know exactly what he meant. Like.
Okay, you heard the uproar there from the White House press corps. Now let's bring in Leslie Sanchez in Houston. She's a CBSN political contributor and a Republican strategist. Leslie, I have to tell you, when I heard about this, I thought, boy, what have I missed? It's just been like 2 hours and like this Twitter thing is exploding. But it wasn't the initial tweet that has a lot of people talking, but the follow-up doubling down. And some people say that on a serious note, what he's doing is distracting from the Republican Party's overall agenda. What is your feeling about his social media presence?
Sure. I can't believe you weren't watching Twitter after dark, Elaine. This is like the big TV, moment, media moment for all of us. There's a couple of interesting things. Yes, the tweet stayed up for 6 hours. Yes, the media firestorm is what becomes laughable about the whole thing. So take away the issue that's a serious issue. What was he trying to say? Why was it so incoherent? And why did it stay up? But the media's reaction is what, again, kind of emboldens him with the base. It's like he can't even make a small faux pas. He wouldn't really probably have a spell check on faux pas. But, these are the kind of things that happen. And in reality, I can't tell you how many times I wish there was like a spell check on Twitter.
Right.
They'd be doing us all a favor.
Well, I mean, we've all done that, made typos.
The typos, and it's not the first time. Okay, we've seen in daylight, normal working hours, that the president has retweeted up to 3 times the same tweet, which any of us have actually done that, deleted and put it back up correctly, because there isn't a way to correct it once you've posted it. But it's the issue, yes. The president, again, continues to use his social media capital, so to speak, to send a message to the base, and he's so reactionary about it. So for the comms team that's in the White House, it's stressful, it's distracting, but they have to double down. There's not a lot of places you can go with that. The biggest question, though, was who was the small group of people that knew what the president meant?
Right.
I mean, I think who were they?
Right.
Who are those people?
And what is the meaning of Covfefe?
Yes.
So, I mean, if you had his ear, how would you advise him? I mean, obviously, it sounds to me like you would ask him to perhaps not tweet quite so much.
Sure. Well, I would say it in 140 characters. That would be the first thing I would do.
But I mean, is he doing more harm than good? Because on the one hand, you could argue he's connecting with his base, as you said. He's accessible in a way to his supporters, to those people who voted for him, in a way that other presidents have not necessarily been able to connect with in such a direct manner. On the other hand, if, as you point out, he's expending some political capital here, kind of distracting from what it is that might be on his own legislative agenda, that's not necessarily a good thing either.
It's strange, and I think that history is going to really be the best judge of this, because when you get into focus groups and you talk to Republicans who've stuck with the president and just kind of folks that are in the middle, they don't really get into the fray of these tweets. They want to see the substantive issues moving forward. One, they understand his style. It's his style. He's extremely authentic. Doesn't mean they like it or they condone it. They just accepted it. It's almost normalized how the White House is communicating, and it's communicating from one person. So it's extremely strange in that respect. Very unconventional, but two, is it effective? So that's when we go to the second question. And for his base, it tends to be. So in some hands, as much as we want to think it's so unorthodox and it's disruptive, it's effective to an extent. And that's where I think we have to keep the line.
So we are hearing reports that White House communications team, as you alluded to, is retooling its strategy. It follows the resignation of the communications director, Mike Dubke. What is your take on sort of the idea of the administration forming a war room at this point in the president's tenure? And what does that tell us about the state of this administration at this point?
A couple of different things. Normally, you don't see the war room for another 3 years, and it's outside the White House. Mm-hmm. So again, kind of coining that term, even going back to the Clinton-Gore days of '92. It's interesting to see that, but it goes back to what we were just saying. Unorthodox approach. The president is continuing to micromanage even his communications team, and it's becoming very difficult for them to get any momentum and to really build a process. So you have, in that case, a lot of mistrust moving through the communications team, miscalculation in terms of how they're spinning. Two different messages can come out of two different spokespeople within 2 different hours, and it's overextending a very core group of people that is only sustainable for a short period of time. So the war room approach can be a Band-Aid to a bigger issue of how the president and the executive management is going to learn to communicate with the public, with Congress, and with the media.
And I mean, when you deal with, though, a constant drip of stories on Russia, for instance, I mean, realistically, how challenging an environment is that when you have not just an FBI investigation going on, but investigations where people from your own party are over on Capitol Hill, members of the Senate Intel panel, the House panel, they are part of these various probes as well.
Absolutely. And let's not take, this is one thing that it's interesting. I've had numerous calls about this because there's certain protocols and things that White House staff and appointed staff learn when they go into a new administration. There are a lot of legal aspects. Your communications are archived, that everything is open and can be disclosed to the public. And a lot of these investigations, you're starting to see them amplify to more and more people who were in the room. Guess what? More and more people have to hire personal attorneys. More and more people have to worry about their own PR problems and their own financial wherewithal in managing this. And that is completely distracting to moving a very aggressive Republican agenda forward. And the president's doing it to himself. So it's a lot of pressure on the team that's there, that very core team. You have people I'm hearing about that do not want to take positions now, just because they're concerned about the legal ramifications until this shakes out. And then, of course, you have Congress that would really just like to get to work. So every day you talk to them, they want tax reform, Elaine. Yeah. They're like, can't we just get a bill to the president and sign it and, have a party in the Rose Garden, but have some chips, just something easy. Easy.
Tax reform,
but that's
easy.
yet to happen.
Right. All right, finally, Leslie, a story broke late Tuesday that says President Trump has been handing out his phone number and urging world leaders to communicate with him via his private cell phone, and it's raising some security concerns. Now, the president constantly criticized Hillary Clinton for using a private email server during her tenure as Secretary of State. What do the optics look like here?
There's no good way to spin that, especially when the threat of the cybersecurity threat is so paramount, not only from the business interest, but also from a national security, clearly. That's been top of mind. The Pentagon spends a tremendous amount of resources looking at that. You have all the NSA issues. So from a security standpoint, it's a horrible optics, especially when you were trying to come in as the standard bearer for getting rid of poor decision making, because one of the issues with Hillary Clinton, one of the attacks was her poor judgment. And so it does leave the president vulnerable and exposing that side for something that he likes to do. I mean, on the bright side, he likes to have that one-on-one communication, his deal-making prowess. It's just in a government structure, it's extremely difficult, very limited, and it's a very hard adjustment. There's no doubt about it.
All right, Republican strategist Leslie Sanchez in Houston. Thanks so much. Always great to see you.
Likewise. Thank you, Elaine.